Good morning and welcome to the Daily Tanya. Today is Thursday, Cheshvan, the 20th day of Cheshvan. Today is the birthday of the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab. He was born Cheshvan, Reish Chof Aleph, which is 1861. And the word Reish Chof Aleph makes the word Kisra, which means in Aramaic the crown. And it is explained that the Rebbe Rashab was connected with the crown. We're actually learning today in the Tanya about the supernal crown, the higher crown. We'll explain what it is. And the Rebbe Rashab indeed was always, from his childhood, connected. We know this. We told the story, the famous story, when he was 4 or 5 years old, and he heard the story of Avram Avinu. Hashem appeared to him. He came to his grandfather, the Tzemach Tzedek, and he cried, "How come Hashem appeared to Avram Avinu and not to me?" And the Rebbe says that indeed, his entire life, the Rebbe Rashab was about revealing Hashem into this world through his teachings, through establishing the yeshiva. And what we learn today is also largely in the schus of the Rebbe Rashab, the way he brought down the Chassidus in ways that we can connect to it, in ways that it can be not just a theoretical teaching, but something that really guides us in our daily lives, how to live our lives, how to pray, how to daven, how to connect to Hashem, and so on. So let's begin with tzedakah. Tzedakah, shemekareves es hageula. Tzedakah brings Mashiach closer. So we continue chapter 29. We spoke about the mitzvahs being garments for our soul, in order that our soul should be able to receive the great godly revelation after it departs the body. And that revelation is so intense, and it cannot receive it without being nullified out of existence unless it has the garments. And what are the garments? The garments is the will of Hashem. And we explained that the will and the pleasure, the will is the external garment compared to the pleasure. The pleasure drives the will. So in order to have the pleasure in the godliness is through receiving the mitzvahs, when we fulfill the actual mitzvahs, which is fulfilling the will of Hashem. So the Rebbe continues now and explains how the mitzvahs, are referred to in the Kabbalah as the crown, the keter, and the crown is referred to also the 620 pillars. Crown is ket chaf taf reish, has a numerical value of 620. And he explains that these 620 pillars. What is a pillar? A pillar connects the very top to the very bottom. A pillar in the house, you have a house where the ceiling stands in a pillar. In order to have this connection, you have to have connecting the very top to the very bottom. So here, now the Rebbe explains that this pillar really serves a double function. It connects the top to the bottom and elevates the bottom to the top. The very top, Keser. Keser is the crown. The crown represents something which is above the logic. The logic is driven by the crown. Like we said, the crown is the will or the pleasure. That drives everything, including the intellect. So the crown, the will of Hashem, is above all of the world. And that connects with the very bottom. That pillar is connected with the very bottom. What is the very bottom? The very physical world. Because that is the will of Hashem. The will of Hashem is that we should do the mitzvahs. that cannot be done in the spiritual world. An angel does what Hashem wants. It is the angel has no choice about it. It's created that way. Hashem wants us to be in a physical world with the ability to choose good from bad, and yet we overcome our own desires and we fulfill Hashem's decrees, Hashem's wishes, and that is how we are connected with it. The top goes all the way to the bottom. In the same way, it goes the other way around also. It says the pillars he gives the metaphor of hollow pillars, that inside the pillars is hollow, and through this hollow pillar, we and the bottom are able to connect and to the very top. The pillar is like a garment, and that protects us, and thereby we're able to connect to the very essence of Hashem, the will of Hashem, which is all the way on the top. Let's see how the Alter Rebbe says it inside. Says the Alter Rebbe, והנה, רוצן העליין ברוך הוא מכונה ונקרא בפיכך מאמס בשם כסר עליין. ובוי טרח עמודי אור וכולו. That the supernal will is termed and referred to in the by the Kabbalist as Keter Elyon, the supreme crown. In it, there are 620 pillars of light, 620 being the numerical value, the numerical equivalent of the Hebrew word Keter, which means crown. Now, what's significant of the number 620? Alter Rebbe is going to explain. We have 613 mitzvot, including also additional 7 rabbinical mitzvahs. Later on, he'll explain that these 7 are not separate mitzvahs, they are included in the 613, but altogether make 620. Pirush says the Alter Rebbe derech mashal, that is by way of analogy. Just as in a large brick house, there are pillars standing in the ground, and their apex is connected with the ceiling, thereby connecting the lowest part of the house with the highest. Precisely so, metaphorically speaking, the supernal keter, the supernal crown, transcends the level of Chachma, which is the first and the highest of the inner sephiros. So the level of Chachma, the wisdom, the intellect, is the highest of the sephiros of the faculties. Keter, the crown, which refers to the will, that transcends that level. The word keter is related to koteret, the capital, for it surrounds and encompasses over the brain in the head, meaning the faculties of Chabad, the intellectual faculties, the faculties of Chachma, Bina, and Das. Now this will is vested in the actual 630 mitzvahs. ורוצן זה נסלבש בתייג מצווה התורה וזין מצווה דרבנן שרובן ככולו ממצווה מייסיס. This supernal will is vested in the 613 commandments of the Torah and the 7 precepts of the sages, practically all of which are operative commandments. What does it mean, operative commandments? Meaning their performance involves physical actions, which represents the lower or corporal aspect of the lowest of the 4 spiritual worlds, the world of Asiya, the world of action. So practically it says all of the mitzvahs are connected with the very bottom, the world of action. Now says the Alter Rebbe, wait a second, all of the mitzvahs are mitzvahs of action? There are some mitzvahs that involve only speech, like prayer, like studying Torah and so on. Says the Alter Rebbe, וגם התלויס בדיבור, או קיימלון דאקימס ספוסov ave maise. And even those commandments, such as verbalized Torah study, that depend upon speech. Nevertheless, even though speech is more spiritual than physical action, they too belong to the category of practical action. Why? For we have an accepted halachic principle that the movement of one's lips in speech is regarded as an act. So the movement of the speech, when you speak, that is considered action. Now, what about certain other mitzvahs that is not even connected with speech? They're only in thought. For example, a mitzvah to love Hashem. How do you love? You don't need the speech to love Hashem. You can do it in your thoughts, in your heart. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain even those mitzvahs, being that they are given to us in physical body, and only here we can choose to love Hashem. Only the physical body. When the neshama is outside of the body, it doesn't have that choice. So that is why even those mitzvahs that are connected with thought, they are also considered connected with action, because only in the physical world we can do it. Even those commandments relating to thought or to the heart, such as the commandment regarding the love and awe of God, they are also considered as physical acts. Why? The commandments were given only to physical men in this physical world. Because he has the choice to turn his heart to good and so on. But the soul without a body, however, need not be commandment about this. It doesn't have a choice to be connected to Hashem. The neshama wants to connect to Hashem. So therefore, says the Alter Rebbe, the mitzvahs that we fulfill, they are the pillars that connect us the very top, which is the will of Hashem, to the very bottom, which is the world of action. Thus it follows that the commandments, metaphorically speaking, are like pillars that stand and connect from the highest level, meaning the supreme will, to this material world. So in addition to that, in addition to the fact that they're connected top to the bottom, they also connected the bottom to the top. How's that? Says the Alter Rebbe, metaphorically speaking, they are like hollow pillars that encompass and garb with the garment of mitzvahs man's neshama, or ruach, or nefesh. These are the three levels of the soul. Neshama is the intellectual part, the ruach is the emotional part, and nefesh is the action part, when he fulfills the commandments. ודרך עמודים אלו, אוילים הנפש רוח נשמה שלוי, עד רום המיילס, ליצרר בצרר החיים את השם, פירוש ליצרורויס ומלבושס בי הקסם, ורוצן העליין ברוך הוא. By way of these pillars of the mitzvahs, his nefesh, ruach, and neshama ascend to the highest of levels, to be bound up with the bond of life with God. That is, to be bound up and vested in the light of Keter, which is the supernal will and highest level of all the worlds. And thereby, by having this garment, the neshama is able to see, to behold and benefit the pleasantness of Hashem. וצחצחו שלמיילו ממילס הכסף ואין פנימיוס על דרך משל. And by means of this garment, they are able to behold the pleasantness of God and the pleasurable thirst which transcends the level of Keter. And metaphorically speaking, are its pnimius, meaning the pleasantness of God, and the pleasurable thirst are the inner core of the light of Keser, which transcends all worlds. So here in the parenthesis, the Alter Rebbe notes that here we just said that the mitzvahs are the external part of the will of Hashem, and the inner part of the will is the pleasantness of Hashem, the pleasure. But in other places in the Tanya it explains that the mitzvahs are the inner part of the will of Hashem. Here it seems like mitzvahs is the external part of the will. So basically the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that really it depends where we're talking. In every level, in general, you cannot say that this world is an external will of Hashem. The mitzvahs is the internal will of Hashem. But within the internal will, they can go further levels. What is the really internal compared to the external? So when you say two people, this one is smart and this one is not smart. Well, you can go among this and put in the category of smart. You can say compared to someone who is even more smart, that smart person is also not so smart. I mean, there's different levels. It depends what you compare it to. So that's what Alter Rebbe is saying here in the parentheses. Though it is explained elsewhere that the commandments are the pnimius, meaning the innermost element of the supernal will, while here it is explained that they are merely the external aspect of Keter, meaning the external aspect of the supernal will. So the Alter Rebbe answers, the student of Kabbalah are well acquainted with a multitude of aspects and levels within every aspect and level, among the various levels of holiness. There are numerous aspects of face to face, meaning since panim is related to pnimius, that relative to a particular spiritual level, another level is even more internal or nearer to the essence. And there are numerous aspects of externality to externality, meaning the reverse, and without end. And now the Alter Rebbe addresses another issue, what we alluded in the beginning. We said that there are 613 mitzvahs. And now we say there are 620 pillars. 7 mitzvahs of the rabbinical mitzvahs. So of course, we do not add mitzvahs, and we're not allowed to add mitzvahs. How could they add 7 mitzvahs? The answer is because this is part of the mitzvah itself, part of the Torah itself. Our sages told the Torah tells us to follow their instructions. So they're not considered like separate mitzvahs, they're part of the 613 mitzvahs, and they're subdivided into 620. Now the 7 precepts of the sages are not counted as commandments in themselves, for it has been said, you shall not add to the commandments. Rather, they derive an issue from the commandments of the Torah and are included in them in the sum of 613 commandments, which guard the 613 aspects and powers in the nefesh, ruach, and neshama of man. So it was previously stated that the mitzvahs are like 613 hollow pillars that encompass and garb the neshama or ruach or nefesh of the individual who performs the commandments. It is through these pillars that the soul rises to the greatest of heights and is bound up in the radiance of Keter. And additionally, it is through the garments of the mitzvahs that the soul is able to behold the pleasantness of God and to experience the pleasurable thirst that transcends even the pnimius of Keser. So that's the end of today's shir. We shall see you, B'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.